Yes, I know. It's only the smallest one I've built, I promise. Welcome to the Jupiter Mining Corporation build platform. I got into Space Engineers thanks to the group survival series by Shaq, Wasted and Morph, and I've been obsessed with recreating the spacecraft of Red Dwarf ever since. For the unaware, Red Dwarf is a British sci-fi comedy I grew up with. Basically, the JMC mining ship Red Dwarf suffers a radiation leak, killing the crew except for Dave Lister, who is in stasis as punishment for smuggling a cat on board. A said pregnant cat is safely sealed off in the cargo hold. The ship's computer, Holly, flies Red Dwarf out of the solar system to minimize contamination. It takes 3 million years for the radiation levels to drop enough to safely release Lister from stasis. With the crew dead, and the statistical likelihood that Dave is the last human being alive, Holly keeps him from going bananas by generating a hologram of his dead bunkmate, a complete and total smeghead named Arnold Rimmer. That's right, Voyager fans, Red Dwarf did it first. Also on board is an evolved descendant of Lister's cat, and they pick up a sanitation droid called Crichton on their way back to Earth. The original Red Dwarf is 5 miles long. That's 9,654 large blocks. I'm not building that. I doubt I'm building a tenth of that. I've built one with accommodations for a crew of 16 instead of 169, and shuttle bays big enough to accommodate Starbug. But Space Engineers' survival is about scaling up, not down. Unlike some, Wasted! I'm not shy about using mods in my builds. Here are the ones I've used building the littlest Red Dwarf, Blue Midget and Starbug. I'm sure you can find them on the Steam Workshop if you're not familiar with them already. I'll also be balancing aesthetic with functionality for reasons that I'll explain later.
Show me the way to go home. I'm tired and I wanna go to bed. Are you sure you're alright to drive? Yeah! Drink about an hour ago to celebrate Rimmer's dead.
The original Blue Midget was big enough for 3 people to squeeze into. Mine is intended to be a step up from that first bare-bones mining ship, which I'll probably call White Midget. On its own, it's little more than the original, transport for personnel and cargo. The keel connector is for cargo transfer, the pair on the sides connect to the drill and craft assemblies. The connector on top of each assembly isn't conveyed to the rest, it's just for storing the assembly on the shuttle bay ceiling when not in use. As a second-gen mining ship, it's nothing unexpected. More drills, more cargo. I put sorters and injectors in all of my mining ships to spit out any stone. If you need gravel for reactors, drilling by hand is usually enough. As for crafting, I've only reused the RB compact mods for this build. Vanilla ship tools were obviously intended for big ships, and far too bulky to look good on Midget. Regardless, this is how I'll build Red Dwarves in survival. Speaking of, Red Dwarf 2 is little more than a large mining ship you can breathe in. More cargo, a refinery and assembler with appropriate modules to get some work done while drilling, a pair of program and timer blocks. I'm a big fan of M Master's LCD script, and the other could be used for Phil's ship diagnostics or whatever else you might want. And yes, my ship computer is called Daisy, as in Ridley. If I could get her into a black polo neck sweater in front of a black background, I would.
Anti-grav, check. Retro, check. Boosters, check. And very gently, Ease forward. I think there's something wrong with the gearbox. The thing is, I learned to drive in Starbug 2. I'm not used to the controls in Starbug 1.
They're exactly the same.
Yes, that's the problem.
Because it was the biggest challenge, Starbug is the one I've spent the most time on. It's my first small ship gone large, my first planetary lander. I tried to stick to the original design, but trying to do anything even vaguely spherical in Space Engineers sucks a big fat double Polaroid. Therefore, run big cube octahedrons. The next most obvious problem was the placement and number of the hydrogen thrusters. If the physics of Space Engineers is any judge, it proves that the show's model designers had some odd ideas about spacecraft design. All my Crimson short ones are octagonal, not just because the game can't do a decent hexagon, but because I never understood where those vertical shuttle bay doors were supposed to be. Why Blue Midget had tracks, I've no idea. It would have toppled over if it had attempted ground travel. And a pair of large thrusters at the top of Starbug's engine module does not a gravity-escaping vehicle make. When I say it has a big fat bug butt, I mean the center of mass was literally dangling between the pair of large thrusters I tried to use underneath. But the thruster-weight ratio was too inefficient. I haven't even tried taking off with full cargo, and I have no idea if the wings from the aerodynamic mod are actually helping in flight. I doubt the fins on the original did. Also, I'm not convinced that the volume of the small ship Megamod's hydrogen tanks are realistic, but compared to the vanilla tank for small ships, I'll take them. It takes about half the ship's supply to escape 1g gravity, and that requires an angle that makes use of all hydrogen thrusters until you reach sufficient altitude. One reason I used the LCD script here is for keeping track of things while testing in realistic mode, but the bars also help keep the horizon level in first person while you're trying to escape the atmosphere. In the end, I think it's closest in scale to the original, not including the Starbugs of ever-increasing size from Series 6 and on. In my opinion, 3 to 5 were the golden years. If that extended engineering table worked for small ships, I'd use it in homage to playing pool with planets. This holographic projector is the next best thing, probably in tandem with the preview mod. The engine room is pretty sparse. At one point I added the refinery and assembler from the small ship megamod, contemplating a, frankly likely, crash scenario.
I suppose you're going to fail me for this.
But the ship's heavy enough as it is. So now that I've built these, with plans for bigger red dwarves in the future, what am I going to do with them? I have an idea for a Survivor series, but I have other projects to work on, and considering how Space Engineers updates kept frilling up the group survival series, I'm happy to wait until Keen sorts its smeg out. Now, if you'll excuse me, here's something I'm trying to finish in time for the release of Deus Ex Mankind Divided.
Acting on your best behavior, turn your back on my